see the debate is around purposes to doing things. Everybody needs a purpose to set out on a road, whether you're making efforts at a personal front or professional standard. Nowadays, we really focus on words like goals, targets, plans, planning, progression, strategies. So these are critical words for sustenance in today's model of survival. So, can we plan for almost everything in life? But in some ways, indeed we can. We can plan for a lot of things in life. We can keep things safer. Mitigating risk is no myth. We can achieve it. But the problem arises when we come to a state of just saying no to nature. So at times we're just not prepared mentally for any form of ambiguity. And with passing times, I think as generations evolving, in spite of all the education around us, we're just going more and more narrow with that. So we're less accepting to things that we don't want in our lives. Um, I'll cite a few examples. There was a time, I believe, if I'm to believe the literature that I've read of the times when probably we were not born, I've heard of words like sacrifices, adjustment, understanding. In modern times, it is the words being replaced by a word called compromise. Is it always compromise, or is it about understanding the other person? Uh, so I'll give you a quick example. We have senses, right? Touch, smell, sight, hearing. Uh, these senses connect us to the world. So they need to be the receiving ends. Whereas, and then the brain further processes the information that it collects and then probably responds accordingly. What's happening in today's world is we already have thought of everything in advance. We don't really care for what the situation is. Now, if you look at the cases of road rage, when you go out on places like on the streets of places like Delhi, you soon realize that people have less patience to hear about what you have to say. If you touched my car, I need to badger you. There is no other way out. It's almost like fighting for survival when there is least need for it. You see my point? So making your brain a processing chamber and using your senses to notice and observe everything clearly, I think is going to be a step forward to resolve the issue. I don't know. I'm no genius, but ever since I started applying it to my life, things have sort of harmonized to a great extent. Now, planning. Not that I don't believe in the expression, but I've had my reservations to the magnanimity of the word. You know, let's say you planned a trip. You have everything planned, right from the path that you're going to take, to the equipment that you're going to carry, to the transportation, and what mode you're going to use, how much time it's going to take, and you're really well planned, like months before. And let's say the place that you planned for is Nepal, and you were to travel right in the midst of that earthquake that we heard about. Would you have planned for it? Now you may say that, well, we would have paid heed to the warnings that may have been forecasted, but really, would you have? I have seen people ignoring earthquakes as they happen, let alone a warning in advance. So why do we do all this? It's not compulsive behavior all the time. At times it is. When you're used to living a certain way, it's very tough for you to detract from it. It's obvious. If I'm used to waking up at 7 in the morning for 10 days, it becomes really difficult for me to keep asleep beyond that. I've noticed it. I don't know if brains around the world work that way or not, but I think they should, logically. But then I won't use that word to my advantage right now because logic is the problem, I believe. We think that now that we know so much, we hardly have the scope of going wrong. We are planned, we know the eventualities, we have calculated risks, and we are the masters of our life. I've heard a lot of people talk uh, vehemently about expressions like gaining control of your life, be your own master, be planned, secure your future. Really? The question is, are we capable of doing so? Even if all the other facilities or the rest of the patches of that environment is available, are we prepared to be so planned? In my head, the answer is a no. So please do not take life as something that you are trying to finish. It is something that you have to experience as you go with it. There is no high or low as I see clearly. When I see it very clearly, I don't see a high point or a low spot. It's mostly when I'm trying to compare it to people around me who probably share some parts of a similar background or a similar profession, similar interests or tastes. It's highly unfair, honestly, because we are distinct individuals. We take a different decision every second of our life, and hence the results will be unique. And beyond all of that, we are distinct people. Some are diabetic, some have heart disorders, some are perfect. You know, so I think the magic in life begins when you start enjoying it without anything to celebrate. Being alive is celebration. Purpose of living is not to spot a purpose all the time. Life is the purpose. Everything is a means to spend that time doing something more productive, which is a great move. That's how evolution happens. That's how development and progress uh, takes the center stage. But let's not forget that life is the core essence. That's at the center. That is not a part of the chain. That is the center. The rest of it is strings attached. They may or may not be. We come to terms with it. Telling yourself all the time that you are the master of your life is a confidence booster to begin with, but it soon turns into a psychological disorder. And I've met a lot of people who are now in a state of mind where it's impossible to talk to them because they know it all. So there are people who say that I know what you're going to say, but I don't want to hear you. Now, isn't that a contradiction? That's a that's a funny sentence, if you focus. Good luck all. With a simple yet steady life. I hope all of you have that. With clear purposes, which is to live happily